Hey, I'm Nicole. I'm the manager here at Oblong in Rhinebeck. We are thrilled to have you here tonight. Just some housekeeping before we begin. The first is, if you like this event, you might like books. You might like other book events. Maybe you should check some out. We have Elizabeth Gilbert and Ken Follett coming to the Bardavon later this month. We have a whole bunch of other amazing events coming this fall. I've got a calendar up front. There's a calendar on the website. Join us. We'd love to see you at more things. Second, housekeeping. If you like books, you might want to own them and have them in your house. I know that's a wild concept. We have Elizabeth's books for sale. If you like Elizabeth and our store and books, you can buy it and bring it home. And without further ado, I am thrilled to introduce Elizabeth Cunningham. You all know Elizabeth. She is an author of many books. I'm not going to name them all because we would be here for a hot second. We're thrilled to be introducing her for Over the Edge of the World. I feel like we put an event on with you at least once a year, and you're always tremendous.
Once every other year.
Yeah, well, every other year, yeah. But you're always tremendous and charming. We love Elizabeth, and I know you will love her as well. So please give a huge round of applause for Elizabeth Cunningham.
Away until you come back and do that.
Yes. I'll dance behind you when it's done.
I'll probably say thank you again, but thank you, Nicole. Okay. When no one knew who the beauty singers were, or they pretended not to, if a beauty singer was caught, she could be banished over the edge of the world. And yet, in the darkest, coldest hour, before the stars dimmed, certain women rose from their beds and threaded their way through the streets. And as they walked, they sang. Come the sorrow, come the sorrow, come the sun, come the rain, come the toiling, all day long, all day night, come the dawn, beauty, beauty will go on, beauty will go on, beauty, beauty will go on, beauty will go on, beauty will go on, beauty will go on. That's my sister Ruth Cunningham, and you can Google her and find out all the things that she does. She was a founding member of Anonymous Force. She has her own practice now. She's sung in all kinds of churches and all kinds of venues. And she's also a composer. That was her tune.
Wow.
And it's also our mother's 103rd birthday today. But she's somewhere. She's probably here, but yeah, she was a music lover. So thank you, Oblong Books, who's hosted so many launches of so many books over the years, and Nicole for hosting us tonight. And the audience, thank you. We have an audience all the way, some people from Ohio, some people from New Jersey, some people from Westchester Medical. Some, people really, I really appreciate people being here. Thank you. So this book, which I think I'll grab.
Someone's
Yeah. This book, one of the questions that people have asked me, which I want to answer right away, because one of my inspirations for this book was the map of make-believe, which I would sit and look at every day in the bathroom. And there is a lot of childlike qualities in here, and there are some child characters, but it's not a children's book. There's some rough stuff in here, just like there's some rough stuff in the world around us. I wrote a fairy tale because I I still haven't figured out if I'm going to be able to write a contemporary book where people have social media accounts and use cell phones. Maybe, maybe not, but I didn't have to think about that for this book. So this book, somebody said it had a complicated structure. Maybe that was somebody who's here. And it was almost like it's a structure like a rose unfolding. So roses are a big theme because the narrator of the whole book is named Rose. You'll hear about her first as Granny Rose, telling this story to the children. But she can also tell the whole story. She can tell from the point of view of her mother and her mother's friends, from some elemental grannies. So the structure of this world, speaking of structure, is there's a world that's beyond a wall, that's desolate. Something terrible has happened. The elemental grannies don't actually remember. They don't know who they are. So finding out who they are and what happened is one of the threads of the story. There's also a wall. It seems like there's an awful lot of walls in a lot of my books, like you're stepping over the wall or you're imprisoned in the wall. There's walls, and they have to come down or be built. I don't know. Somebody should write their thesis on that, maybe someday. Maybe it'll be useful.
With styles.
Yeah. And inside the wall, there is this domed world that is impenetrable for anyone outside it. Because just like some very wealthy people in our world, the rich think that they can live without any consequences and without any interference from anything or anyone. But they still need people to serve them. And the people that serve them are really, the way I see outside world, it looks sort of like a refugee camp or maybe a little bit like some other devastated places on our planet. So we're going to open with little snippets from the grannies. So one thing that you need to know about Granny Sweep, I realized as I read my snippet, is that she is in that world beyond the wall and beyond the dome. And she lives on a pinnacle that's the same kind that I have on my map of make-believe. It has sheer sides, no one can go up or down it, and there's a ramshackle house at the top. So that's what you need to visualize when you hear the first snippet. I'm gonna just read little snippets about all the grannies and the other main characters, and then we'll have some question and answer, some more singing, because you all can sing too, and a surprise at the end. So this is the part that may sound to you like a children's story because Granny Rose, who is now the oldest person in the world, is telling a story to the children. Granny Sweep had a broom. She lived so close to the sky, she swept the clouds that had gotten stuck on the pinnacle. Granny Sweep had tricky eyes. Sometimes it was hard for her to see out of her right eye, but with her left eye, her wind eye, she could see all the way to the edge of the world. She could see small things too, bees in the heart of roses, tears catching light. And though she could see over the highest of walls into the ramshackle hovels and piecemeal gardens of outside world, she could not see inside the vast dome at the center of the walled enclosure. She could not get past its huge, smooth glare. It troubled her. She sometimes wondered if that dome hid her own secrets from her. Who she was, how she had gotten to her high pinnacle, or what she was to do about anything. So our next granny, elemental granny, is Granny Spark. The forest where Granny Spark lived was a magic forest. It was the last forest left in that world. And whenever people who wanted to cut down the trees came too close, Granny Spark would sing this song to the trees, and I'm going to approximate it. Up, trees, make your roots strong, legs and swift feet, up and away to find new earth, dark and sweet, away, away over the dry and thirsty ground, to a place near or far where we can never be found. And the trees would hear her, and their great roots would stir, and the whole forest would move like a cloud shadow over the earth or a wave over the sea, leaving not a trace, confounding anyone who tried to follow. Such was the magic of the forest. Such was the magic of Granny Spark. So, Granny Dirt lived in a shoe. It was not a dainty dance slipper. It was the kind of shoe a farmer would wear, with thick soles to keep out the damp of the dew. A shoe that could walk through a muddy field and keep a foot dry. The kind of shoe that went right up over the ankle to the shin. A shoe that could be laced up tight or loosened. Granny Dirt was very clever. She not only had laces up the shoe, but also a thatched roof at the top. When it looked like rain was coming, her many children would climb up the shoe, grab hold of a lace, and jump down. And the boot would close up tight. It was a very big shoe. They say it was once a 7-league boot, worn by a giant, when giants still walked the earth. No one knew where the other shoe was. But when the people hunters came, Granny Dirt brought all the children inside and turned the shoe. And the shoe shrank, and no one saw anything but an old shoe in the mud. So now you'll hear a little bit of Rose's voice, because this is Rose reflecting on the story that she's about to tell. And it has some of the sort of litany that, come on in, that the children go through every time, because the children want to know how old they are. And the answer is always old as something. And so old they've forgotten who they were. So here's Rose about to introduce the last of the grannies to the children, Granny Brine. We've come to the shore and made a fire of driftwood. The wind is damp. Now and then a cloud covers the moon, and a few drops of rain spatter our faces, hiss on the burning wood. Granny Brine was old, I begin. How old? The children chant. As old as the sea, maybe older. And then there's a little segue that you're not going to hear. You have to buy the book. The rain starts to fall. The children's parents gather them up and carry them away to dry beds. I pull my cloak over my head and listen to the fire sputter, and I remember. I remember the edge of the world, miles high, disappearing into cloud at the top and into fog below. Mist that shrouded a gleaming temple of bone. Ooh. Granny Brine's secrets, my secrets. So that's the grannies. I'm going to give you a little short, there's a couple of villains, and one I'm not reading about, he's too horrible. No. But there is a villain whose name is No One, and actually I got that name from the street right by your house.
Yes, right.
Yes. I said, oh, that's a good name. And Rose, when she's a child, mistakes him for Father Time. She thinks he looks like Father Time. So No One sat in front of the fire in the fireplace, built for atmosphere. It had no chimney because the fire made no smoke, but rather consumed and renewed itself. It was an undying fire, an immortal fire, one of his first perfections. He himself would be, no, not his last perfection, for soon, very soon, there would be no more first or last. But Gary is the last. Come on in, Gary. Yeah. Soon, those wretched outsiders would no longer be needed. Everything necessary would exist inside a world that would expand and expand until there was nothing else. Oh, and I think I've already described, I didn't keep the snippet that was about what outside world looked like, but you can imagine. It was a very makeshift world. People used what they could use to make little shelters, and chickens were illegal, but they would hide them, and they would both fight over the eggs and share the eggs, and very often the men and the women were separated. The men were in the mines and the women were doing other work, and the children were running wild and playing on dung heaps. So there are 3 children who are very important. one of them is Rose's mother, and she tells her story, or her mother tells her the story, and she imagines it. And I'm just going to read a little tiny bit of that, because they're very important. If Briar ever had another name, she never told me what it was. Rose is speaking to us now. Her earliest memory was of crawling into the briar patch, which is in a forgotten corner of outside world. Whether she was only a baby who crawled everywhere, or whether she got down on her hands and knees to find her way, she was not sure. From the beginning, the briars made way for her, and she passed without a scratch deep into their hidden, untouched world. She would lie on her back and look up at roses, the kind of roses that scent the air with spicy sweetness, blown open roses full of golden pollen and rich nectar. And of course, bees. But I really did a lot of snipping to get these snippets. That's why they're called snippets. So, and Sal is one of the children. There was a lot of children just running around. Some of them had parents, some of them didn't. And the part I'm not going to read explains that probably Sal's mother was sent over the edge of the world, and Briar's mother takes her in when they're both about 5 or 6. They looked nothing alike. They were nothing alike. Sal was always short, dark, and bristling, outspoken. Briar, despite her prickly name, sweet and secretive, hair the color of dark honey falling over her shoulders as softly as petals. And yet they were each other's mirrors. Each knew herself only through the other. And now I must tell you about Jack. There's always, remember children, there's always a Jack. And in fact, there are 2 Jacks in this story. This is the first Jack. This is, Jack. Yeah, this is Jack Nimble. Jack was neither the tallest boy nor the strongest. Some of the bigger boys tried to bully him, as they bullied others less able to defend themselves. In Briar's memory of Jack, first memory of Jack, a story she told me over and over, Jack outran 3 larger boys who were chasing him and brandishing sticks. And just when it looked as though the bullies would beat Jack to a bloody pulp, he somersaulted into the air and landed on a wall above the boys. And there he danced a jig. And part of what I didn't include is that the boys threw their sticks at him, and he caught them and started to juggle.
Oh, right.
So that's who Jack is. Yeah, he's a very magic person. And so he's the king of the dung heap. And Sal and Briar decide they're both going to marry him together, but they don't want to. And Briar says, well, you know, he might rescue us, or you know, if we get bullied. And Sal says, hell no, we're going to challenge him, and we're going to win. So we don't know how to do that, but they do it every day until they really. And Jack sort of gives them pointers in martial arts, and they keep fighting every day. And one day it's actually Briar who defeats him. And so she and Sal say, we're queens together, because they shared everything. And then something, I'm going to read this part because it's significant. It's a refrain, and this is the first time you hear it. Briar took Sal's hand. Then as Jack stood up, Sal and Briar each took one of his hands. The 3 of them dropped hands and turned toward the crowd of children. In a moment, everyone had hold of someone else's hand. Someone found an old pot in the heap and struck up a rhythm, and everyone danced together round and round, up and down the rubbish heap, and soon a song sprang up. Over the edge of the world we go, over the edge of the world we fly, queens and kings, when we have wings, we all have wings. Over the edge of the world we go, queens and kings, queens and kings. And you can imagine that if no one way up in his perfect world that he constructed heard that song, it would be very disturbing to him. And it was. And he had it in for them. Mm-hmm. And so, oh yes, and so now a little tiny bit more about Rose. And I won't tell you how this happened to her, how she came to grow up and be born where she was, because you really do have to read the book. But this is Rose speaking of her early memory. I have early memories of being all alone. I was very small, maybe only just learning to crawl. I suppose I could be left alone because the room was completely safe. No objects I could swallow or cut myself on, nothing I could climb that was precarious, no landing that would not be soft. I was inside world, so deep inside. Only 3 other people knew I existed. And there is a mystery around Briar and her identity and her shifting identity, which Rose, yeah. But I have to introduce you to the comic relief, because this sounds like a very serious lyrical story, but fortunately we have Auntie Aloe Vera and Auntie Vindaloo. And they came to me in a dream when I was trying to write one of those realistic books and trying to imagine, well, you know, it's just impossible. And I think this, I don't remember what was happening politically, but it was just impossible. But I kept trying to figure out how to do it and who was going to be a character. And they showed up at my bed, right beside my bed in my real room. And they said, we're Aloe Vera and Vindaloo, we're double agents, and we want to be in your book. And they were also the most glorious trans women that you've ever seen. And so they came into this book, and in fact, they are double agents. And they're wonderful. They're twins. So I'm just going to read you real little snippets. Auntie Aloe Vera had a sort of damp fragrance. Auntie Vindaloo smelled spicy, faintly sweet, but also hot. Hot coals, seeds sizzling and cracking. Their temperaments were also distinct. Auntie Aloe wept easily and freely. If they weren't salty, they could make a desert bloom, Auntie Vinda would say, fond and sarcastic at the same time, or at least fill a cistern. She's a natural wonder. And she said, well, you know, I didn't have this part of the snippet, but I think Auntie Aloe says, well, somebody has to do it. Not everyone has the tears or the talent. So, my aunties, who were older, and they claimed wiser and also more foolish than my mother, had also been born in outside world. Now, mind you, Auntie Vinda said, we can barely remember a thing about it. Not like your mother. She was outside for much longer. We were barely your age when we were taken inside. Taken from our mother? Auntie Aloe would start to cry. We were boys then, put in Auntie Vinda. I was never a boy. Auntie Aloe would sniff. Freaks, we were freaks. Auntie Vinda would insist, you know who wanted to experiment on us. Hush, sister, Auntie Aloe would always say. Rose is too young to hear about such things. But you are not too young. So, I think I need my sister again. Oh, yes, we're going to sing again. And Ruth composed this beautiful tune, but she's also a master or mistress improviser. So anybody who wants to start singing, just sing beauty, beauty will go on, beauty, beauty, anything.
Yeah, it's like the chorus,
Yeah.
just when we get to
So when we
beauty.
get to that part, let's just all sing. I know there are some people here who would like to do that. So we'll do it, and then we're just going to jam. Yeah. And this is just something that I wanted, another little snippet about the beauty singers wandering through outside world at dawn. They were singing to the rubbish heaps and to the sky, to the wasteland beyond the wall, to the moon, to the sun that would rise. They sang beauty distilled from dreams. They sang blue rivers of milk from breasts. They sang till the break of heartbreak. Come the sorrow, come the sorrow, come the sun, come the rain, come the toiling, all day long, come the night, come the dawn, beauty will go on she will go on. So now I think we come to the part that's called question and answer. If you have any questions or anything you want to say, and maybe can answer and maybe I can't. And then we have a surprise after that. But yeah. So any questions, anybody?
If I read your book, will I find out what it's like over the edge of the world?
Yes.
Good question.
Good question.
I've dreamed about that, as you may have read.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, and it may be different and it may be the same.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What would happen to the beauty singers if they were caught?
Well, they were thrown over the edge of the world, and they didn't know what would happen. Nobody really knew. What they were told was that they would fall forever, and whether they would be alive, dead, in between, they didn't know. So basically, that was the big threat. If you committed treason, if you were inciting people to resist or whatever, over the edge of the world you went. So it was very subversive for the children to make that into a children's song and game, and to say that they could fly. Yeah. Yeah.
What motivated you to come up with this concept in your book?
To have the concept of the edge.
The fairy tale?
Oh, the fairy tale. Yeah. Well, I think it was partly that map of make-believe, which has always been with me, and that really continued to be an inspiration. I also loved fairy tales when I was a kid. And I think this is not only a very fairy tale kind of book, but I think it's a bit Mother Goosey. Yeah, and I still say those rhymes to myself, you know. I think that I love that. I like to have a challenge. And most of my books have a little edge of fantasy in them, like historical fantasy in the Maeve Chronicles. The Wild Mother's pretty close to not quite being in this world, and they all have a little touch of something. But I've never really written anything that happened in a complete other world. And yeah, so I thought, oh, let me see if I can do that. And also, like I said, I tried really hard to write something that was set now, and that meant that I either had to write about the president that we had, or I had to make something up that was happening in the near future. And I don't know how people do it, because things are changing so fast every second, every day. I think that I'm probably going to have to stick with historical novels or fantasy, because I'm not up to it. And also, it's so interesting, though, that when you think about mysteries and think about any novels, how people used to miss a phone call, they miss signals, and now they don't. Now they do things like they pack into their lover's phone or email, and like plots have really had to change. And I'm not quite ready for it yet. I don't know if I ever will be, but there's a lot of possibility in that. And I think some people do write about that kind of thing and do it very cleverly, but that would not be me.
Thank you.
Not yet, anyway. Never say never.
Was it difficult to create a world that, without having too much reference to what we as readers would recognize?
It was.
Elizabeth, as
Yeah.
questions are asked, could you repeat the
Oh, yes.
question so we could all hear
The
it?
question was it difficult to create a world without too much reference to the world that we know? And it really was. And there were times I felt like, whoa, this is a big challenge, because, and I still miss, the kind of writing that I did in the Maeve Chronicles, where I had a framework, and I could play with it, and I could be wild and magical, but I had a plot that I was working with, and I had a world that I could research. And it was nice not to have to research, and that was I liked that, but it was difficult to imagine that whole world and how it worked. And I really depend a lot. I've always depended a lot on readers' willing suspension of disbelief, and Maeve calls it bungee jumping of disbelief. So it's like, and I kept saying, well, maybe I should do more research on mines since there's these miners, and what are they mining, and how does that work, and how does that fuel inside world? And I finally decided, no, this is a fairy tale. I don't know. I've just got to make it sound good. So, good question, though.
They did mine, right? They did mine.
They mined, but once they got immortal, they weren't going to have to do any of that stuff. And that was another motivation for the book. Was I was trying to think, where did things come from, and I think I read about people who thought, well, maybe they could be immortal, and also that happens in That Hideous Strength. If you download your brain, you can go on forever, and I thought that was repulsive. And I do think that's repulsive, and I think a lot of problems in this world happen because people don't like the idea that they're going to die.
Yeah.
So that was one of the big, deep motivations, was you're going to die, and that's good.
I think we often consider fairy tales to be the stuff for children, and we also know that isn't true. But you also had mentioned within your reading around that idea of, well, you're too young to know, and then you yourself said, but everyone here is old enough. But I'm just curious how you played with, you have so many child characters, and then this sense of fairy tales are kids stuff, and then of course you're writing such deeply adult themes at the same time, what that weave was like for you.
Well, I think in that way it was sort of similar to The Wild Mother, and I had a really hard time getting The Wild Mother published. I think now, I mean, maybe you think this is true too, people in publishing, Paul. I think now there's a lot more acceptance of and even seeking of novels than genre. I call it genre fluid. But when I first started writing, it was like, no, if you're not in a strict genre, we don't know what to do with you. So The Wild Mother took forever to get published because they said, who is this for? You can't have child characters and adult characters in the same book. And I said, well, tell that to Mark Twain. I wish I had thought of that then. Yeah. So I think the thing is that actually, I mean, a lot of people that I know started reading the Maeve Chronicles when they were in their early teens, although I don't think those are children's books. But I think in all my books, there are some rough themes. In this theme, as in many of my books, there is some sexual violence. It's not dwelled on. It's not the whole story. And I think probably in fairy tales that real fairy tales, that is part of it. That's the unvarnished fairy tales have that. But it's not for, I would say probably preteens could read it. I don't know who it's for, but that sexual violence is pretty scary stuff. It always is. It's scary for adults too. And it's not real graphic. Don't anybody get scared. It doesn't need a trigger warning, I don't think. But yeah, I think, as you know, probably Marisa better than anybody, those old stories are rough.
The Grimm's.
There's some rough stuff in them.
The Grimm's fairy tales.
Yep.
Real.
Oh, really rough.
Yeah.
Like, I think in the original Cinderella, well, the stepsisters chopped off their toes and their heels and things like that. And children actually really love things about, are you going to be eaten? Like, you're going to be swallowed by the wolf, you're going to be put in the oven. I mean, I don't know why I say it, except that...
In the Frog Prince, the frog gets hurled against the wall.
Oh, yes. That's nasty. So maybe it's maybe children are tougher than adults. But anyway, I don't think this is a children's book, although they might like it. I don't know. They like parts of it.
I got an 11-year-old. I'll test it on.
I think she could probably. I think 11 would be okay. Yeah.
But then look at Warner Brothers cartoons that we grew up on,
Oh, yeah.
A lot of violence.
Yep. That's how I got the idea of how to kill God, was from Roadrunner.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
He was always falling off the edge of the world.
He was falling off he would roll the boulders down.
That's right.
Yeah.
On top of one.
And then, of course, the resurrection is the guy would jump right back up.
Like nothing.
I don't know. So I don't know. I just feel like, since people say this is a children's book, I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but they probably mean YA or younger.
Yeah.
And I don't think it is. But I think 11 would be perfect.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Yeah.
I haven't read the book yet, but in your reading the snippets, I felt like I was above and below. I was here and I wasn't here.
Mhm.
I was just listening to what was beyond the words in a way. And then when you sang with your sister, it just heightened the experience for
Yeah.
me. So I just felt like I was traveling in a non-dualistic way.
Yeah. That's a
great description.
pretty good description of the book, I would say.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, well, I got it then.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Yeah.
I found it very dreamy.
Yeah.
Sort of things
Yeah.
are just shifting.
Yeah, it's a rose unfolding.
Elizabeth, are
Yeah.
you living in that world now?
Am I living
Are
in
you
it?
living in the world that you wrote?
I was. I'm trying to find my way into the next story now. Mhm. Yeah.
Because I know you do that.
Yes. That's how I have to do that. I think it does something to your brain chemistry so that you don't have to become, I mean, I'm a pretty addictive person. I don't have any addictions right now. So I'm not, I really have to get back to imagining because, yeah.
Elizabeth, will there be a part 2 to the book?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Although, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the only one that there is Murder at the Rummage Sale and
Yeah.
All the Perils are 2 books, and Maeve is 4.
Yeah.
But I think this one's a standalone.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's going to be another book if I can get to it, if I can find my way to it.
Yeah.
It's another, I'm challenging myself again.
Uh-huh.
That's how I end up doing different genres all the time. Oh, I haven't done that before. Mary Rose.
I know with Maeve, you very much had dialogues with her, and things that were coming to you as you were writing. Was it similar? Is it always that way with you? Like, do you find that these characters that are in your very rich inner world are sort of coming to you with things they have to say, and you have to have conversations with them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially for the next one I'm going to do, that will be so. And I think with Return of the Goddess, I used to call meetings with the 4 narrative characters, which I should probably try that again. Yeah, this was very dreamy. I think when I needed inspiration, I just got it every time I went to the bathroom because the map was there. But yeah, I think I always hear things, so I think a lot of those rhymes are hearing things. In fact, a rhyme came to me today. Let's see if I can remember it. I didn't write it down. It said, there could be a lesson for me, but I don't want to learn it. I could be grateful, but I'd much rather grumble. I think it was better. It had a better rhythm when it came to me. Yeah.
Elizabeth, as you're talking about the children, reminiscing about my own childhood and how we kind of ran wild, and we didn't recognize borders and boundaries, and we didn't know whose property belonged to who.
Right.
And if we wanted to explore the stream that went nearby, we went out and explored it, like a Huck Finn adventure.
That's right.
So I'm just wondering if you drew upon your own experience as a child in sharing that.
Yeah, I think I always do. And of course, those 3 children are always trying to get places they're not supposed to go. They climbed that unclimbable wall
Oh, yeah.
to the top.
Mhm.
And of course, I lived, as you probably know, I lived right next door to Wings Wood in Millbrook. And it did say that I couldn't go there, but I did anyway.
Sure.
So that was very formative.
One side of the sign said no trespassing.
Yep.
And the other side didn't say nothing.
That's right, that's right. Yeah.
I find that I fall in love with stories more than I fall in love with other things because they're not constrained and they can say real things and how they're not bound by this world. When you mentioned walls, I thought of the four of Horson books by Garth Nix, which I've read more than once. Have you read them at all?
You read them? I haven't read them.
Yeah, no, they're worth reading.
Okay.
And walls are important. Houses are important. All of these things. And the domed city, I dreamed of that domed city. I was inside it.
Yeah.
I wanted to escape.
Yeah.
And it was interesting.
So you'll probably recognize
When I got out, then I would look across to the riverbank, and it was cold, and I was alone. Then you mentioned the granny that lives on top of the peak as being the opposite viewpoint. So I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Well, the grannies have great places to live. Yes, and there is a tower in this book, which there also was in The Wild Mother, that is very important. The worlds are always coming and going and trying to transform each other. Are people ready for a surprise, or is there any question? Well, this is thanks to Ella, who said, and also thanks to Paul and Georgia. With the Maeve Chronicles, we used to have decks that we passed out. And Ella said, well, I remember that. That was really fun. And I'm like, I don't think I can make a deck, but I did make a deck. And I made it myself. And I have to tell you, I'm very particular about, what words go where and very, precise. I got a D in cutting in kindergarten. So talking about what's for children and what isn't for children, these cards pretty much look like they were made by a kindergartner. And I got rose stickers. And I think there's enough for everybody. So Kate, explain what you do with divination.
You just reach in and take the first one that comes to your hand.
And you don't know what it is. Oh, no, well,
Another one.
no, not tonight.
Not tonight.
But that's still, Kate does give you permission to do that.
That's right.
If you really don't like it, there's probably enough. But I'm just gonna pass this around, take one, and you'll get something written on the other side.
Thank you.
While we pass the basket around, do we have any last questions for Elizabeth?
Go across all the way or behind or?
And people, if they would like to, can also, I think we used to have people read out loud if they wanted to. Now, this one I didn't have enough of what I didn't have enough material to have a different one on each card. So there might be differences, but it all means something or nothing, possibly.
The bees know what will be, their 1,000 eyes know how to see. The bees know what is to come, the secrets hidden in their home.
So maybe you should let everybody get one, and then we can all do what Ruth did, if we feel like it.
There was a question back here.
Oh, I was going to ask, what's the dome made of?
What?
The dome?
The dome. Well, magic. It can reflect. It reflects outwardly, and there is kind of a whole world in there. And I think the magic that makes it is something that the miners have to dig, and they don't have such a great life. But I didn't really explain very much. There is someone called the Chief Magician, and he and Noah constructed this world, and I don't know how they did it because that happened before the story. That's one of the givens where you have to get on your bungee jumper and just say, okay, so there's this world. I don't know how they made it. It's magic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Blows, knows, as the fire blows, as the wind blows, as the sea blows, as the water flows, go here, go there, go up.
There may be enough to talk about if you don't like to. I believe one for Ella.
If we go, who will sweep the sky? Who will catch the babies? Who will tend the trees? Who will gather the bones? If we go, if we're gone.
Rose knows as the fire glows, as the wind blows, as the seed grows, as the water flows, go here, go there, you are always everywhere.
You know, Elizabeth, it strikes me that not just the beauty singers sing, but there's a much more different, this book is different from your others in the sound.
Yeah. Sound's always important to me, but yeah, this really is important in this book, yeah. What did you get, Debbie? You're a reader.
Come birth, come death, come silence, come song. Beauty will go on, beauty will go on. Come sorrow, come joy, come perilous dawn. Beauty will go on, beauty will go on.
Honey in the stone, rose in the dawn, beauty will go on, go on. World without edge, world without end, beauty will go on, beauty will go on.
That seems to be the theme.
Yeah.
And which in that way it does relate to our world today, when there is so much that's terrifying and hideous and cruel. I mean, how do you go on? Beauty. Yeah, and that is one of the things, to just notice the little beautiful things. I write down 3 things I notice every day.
Good for you. I started doing that while I was in treatment for cancer.
Yeah.
One thing every day, one beautiful moment every day. Yeah.
It helps.
It does.
Because it not only do you write it down, but you're looking
Yeah, you're
to
looking
find
for
it.
it.
Yep.
You know you will each day.
Up trees, make your roots strong legs and swift feet. Up and away to find new earth, dark and sweet. Away, away, over the dry and thirsty ground, to a place near or far, where we cannot be found.
World's edge, edge of fear, salt and rose, bell and bone, falling, flying, shrouded, clear. Granny Brine is always here.
That's a good one for you, Alan. You know the water.
Seeds fly and seeds fall, wind, water, dark, light. The earth will hold them all. Granny Dirt is under all.
Over the edge of the world we go, over the edge of the world we fly. Queens and kings, when we have wings, we all have wings. Over the edge of the world we go, queens and kings, queens and kings. Briar, Sal, and Jack.
Dead of night and blaze of day, falling star and leaping fire, flickering or steady ray, Granny Spark will light the way.
Wanted to be heard from. I think another motivation for me was to write about the grannies was because I want to be a granny. I'm probably not going to be a granny, but I am a granny. The way those grannies, maybe the way grannies are grannies and the way certain trees are grannies. Rebecca.
Yeah, listening to you tonight and then listening to people read the snippets
what they got. It strikes me that this would make a great audiobook if you could get a variety of people, of voices to voice this character.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful to listen to.
Yeah, I'd love it to be an audiobook.
Yeah.
That's not so, I mean, I could come,
Yeah.
yeah,
We'll need a cast of characters, a cast of voices.
yeah. That's something to dream towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got us on video, so this could be the audition.
The audition. And we've got a composer.
Okay.
Do we have any last questions for Elizabeth as we inch towards 7 o'clock?
Yes, because Nicole.
I'm your timekeeper, yeah.
Yes.
Lest my cat get too mad at me.
Uh-oh. Kitty's, yeah, we have a kitty at home, feeling what I call Lord and neglected. Yeah.
If we have no further questions and everybody has gotten a little divination, why don't we give Elizabeth a huge round of applause?